sure you all can imagine that kid that was last picked on the team in PE in elementary school, or being forced to hang out with that one kid because the teacher felt bad that they were sitting all alone on the bench during recess. And I'm sure you all can imagine, and some of you may experience, being left out and forgotten as the middle child of the family because of the admiration of the older sibling and the cuteness of the younger sibling, leaving you feeling like there's nothing special about you. Well, sadly, that's how we Violas feel every day in the orchestra world. Hi, I'm Alexis, and today I will be talking to you about the challenges that we Violas face and why it's a problem that you should be aware of. Now, I've played the viola for a number of years now and have participated in a youth symphony as well as a string orchestra, and let me tell you, orchestras would not be where they're at without violas. It's a sad thought that a majority of the population doesn't even know that violas exist, let alone how important they are. Although I myself would probably not know what a viola is had I not been forced to learn it in the 5th grade, I am privileged and very fortunate to be able to play and know about the beauty of the instrument. Most everyone knows about the viola's instrumental sister, the violin, and confuse violas with violins all too often. But let me tell you, they are not the same. For some brief background, violas are slightly larger than violins and therefore deeper with a lower C string. And violas are quite literally stuck in the middle between the higher pitched violins and the lower voiced cellos. And it acts as a balancing between the two very different sounds created by those instruments. According to Violas, principal violist of the Utah Symphony, the viola section creates the rich middle harmonies and adds a lot of texture to an otherwise sort of bland string section. So just from that fact, you already know how important violas are to the orchestra. Yet there's always a critical need for more violas in practically every orchestra, and yet always an army of violins. Unsurprisingly, there are considerably more concertos, which are solo pieces, for violins than there are for violas. There are also a lot less duets, trios, quartet pieces, etc., that don't even include the viola. This problem creates way less opportunities for violas to thrive in the place that they are made to be. With this knowledge, it is very hard for someone to earn a living as a violist, especially since section viola players are paid considerably less than other prominent musicians. So most viola players play the violin on top of the viola. Notoriously, people think of violists as failed attempts at being violinists, having to stoop down to the level of violist, dropping the ego of the section altogether. It's also stereotypically joked that violists are not as good at playing, and it's just not important enough of an instrument to focus on, since there's already a lot of action in the violin and cello sections. Interestingly enough, most of the time, violinists or cellists that switch to the viola from that instrument end up liking the viola better. Many cellists would say that it's much easier to play than the cello, and many violinists would say that they like the sound of the viola a lot better than they do the violin. So get more violin and cello players playing the viola, and maybe we'll recruit more students that will learn to love the viola. Although they are not the same, violins and violas are built the same, and they're played in the same manner, as I showed you before. So it doesn't take much to transition to the viola from the violin, just some adjusting to size and key signatures, of course. Now, violas are not something that everyone loves right off the bat like violins, but they are something that you can learn to love and appreciate in time. As my Pinellas Youth Symphony conductor, Susan Robinson, would say, the violas are the underdogs of the orchestra. For now, but that can change. Most of all, there needs to be greater diversity in the orchestra and more acceptation for all players and instruments as well. Martha Mook, performing violist and composer, says that her goal is to bring an evolution to music, break down barriers and stereotypes, as I mentioned before. With more violas in the orchestra, that creates an even greater balance of the resonating sounds going on all throughout the orchestra and also makes the harmony more colorful and apparent. The violas won't have to feel left out anymore because they are definitely there and they are heard. Everyone can see them now. So remember, whenever you're listening to a classical piece, whether it be while studying, while watching a movie, or you just happen to come by a classical piece or work for whatever reason, listen for the harmony. Listen for the viola section, because although it's hard to hear sometimes, we're there. And just in general, listen for the harmony in all music and every song you listen to, because although it's not the melody or the part that's meant to be heard exactly, without it, the song loses a lot of its value, and this can also help you learn to appreciate the music behind the song. So now, instead of thinking of violas as stuck in the middle, think of them as the heart of the orchestra. Thank you.